Welcome to our Watch App course from Edgeonics. My name is Brett, and in this lesson we're going to learn about the application context for sharing data between the iOS app and the WatchOS app. So right now what we're going to do is start off kind of simple with a test, and I'm going to actually add a button here to our main scene. We'll click it, we'll send data to the watch. We'll also have a label here, maybe above the button, where we can receive data from the watch. So let's talk about the application context and what exactly does it do. Because there is another where you can do user info. That's more of a user engaged way to send data. Application context, from what Apple has described, is really for the app managing when it sends data to the watch or vice versa. So, for example, one of the things Apple used at WWDC was a social media app. So in the background, the iOS app is getting posts from some social media, and it's getting the posts, bringing them into the iOS app, and deciding which ones are maybe the best or most interesting, and sending them to the watch. So what happens is, though, they will queue up, and when the user opens the app on the watch, they will appear. So they don't just go to the watch, interrupt what's ever going on, and appear as a notification or something. They appear when the app on the watch wakes up. So in that case, application context is controlled by the app rather than, say, by the user, and that's how you would want to do it. Now, I'm going to start off simple with a button. So that is actually going to be user controlled. But what may happen instead in an app is that you've got a timer going on, it's going out checking cloud service, pinging it every few minutes, or it's listening and getting data from the cloud service. And when the data comes in, the iOS app will then send it or queue it up to go to the Watch app. So for now, we're going to use the button and just have it sent by the user, which is actually not how you want to do it, but for our testing purposes for this demonstration, it'll make it really easy. And then we can do something like put a timer on it to mimic this background processing and sending of this data to the Watch app. So let's go ahead and set this up. We're going to do this in the view controller since it's associated with our first main scene. And to start off, I want to import watch connectivity. And then we're going to need to add a new protocol. And this is going to be WC session delegate right there. And now we're going to set this up so that we have enabled the ability to pair up with the watch and know that it's there for us, and that we can create a session and begin sending data to it. So there are a few steps involved with this part. So the first thing I want to do is go ahead and create a session. So I've got our stadiums here. I can do session, and I'm going to do a WC session. I'm not getting any hints here, so what I want to do instead is go ahead and create a variable for this, and I'll put it below the stadium. So this is going to be session, and it's actually going to be WC session, and I will force unwrap on that. Now I should get a little more hint here, so we'll have a WC session, and this is going to be default session. All right, so now we're going to handle to this session, which is going to allow us to send data back and forth, and I need to set the delegate as well. So I'll do this, and actually I want to do self. And then we'll say session, activate session. All right, so our session is at this point enabled, and what we need to do now, we can go ahead and start creating our UI for this. And we are inside of our view controller, and for this I can go ahead and add a few items and put those in a stack view. So we'll have our label here in the middle. We'll have a button below that, and this will say send data. So for this label, let's see, we just want to do something like from watch for now. And we can, let's see, we have this stack view up here, so that we can go ahead and drop these in here since we already have a stack view. Let's see, right there. And this is going to be centered. So I'll go ahead and do this. All right. And we can add some spacing here. Let's see, we have 0, so I'm going to go ahead. Right now, I've clicked on the stack view, and I'm in the attributes inspector, so I'm going to go ahead and add some spacing to all of this. About 20 is good. And going to adjust the frames here. I think we're fine with that. No, I see a yellow arrow up here at the top, so I'll go ahead and do an adjustment on that. And that looks fine. And create some IB outlets. So I'll go ahead and close my document outline and create a little bit more room here for the assistant editor. All right, so we're inside of our view controller. We need a few outlets, and I'm going to create those below our picker view. And I believe all we're going to need is this one outlet. So I'll control drag here. It's going to be watch data. And what we need now is an IB action, which I'll put below these memory methods. So I'll control drag from our send button, create an action. It's going to be send data button click. All right. And at this point, I can just go ahead and go completely into the editor, which I'm going to do. Close this. And then down here in our send data, there's a few things we need to do. There's kind of a workflow that we need to get involved with to make sure we actually have connection with the watch. So to start this off, we're going to do if session paired equals true. Now in this part, I'm going to go ahead and print that we do have a pairing. So paired with watch. And then what we want to do is a pattern from Apple on this. So we're going to do let context equal, and this is where we're going to pass some data. So I'm going to do something like my key. So this is going to be a dictionary. This is what we're passing to the iPhone. So this is going to be testing from iPhone. So when you pass your data, you use a dictionary. So I've got some key. I'm using a string here. This could be, and what it would likely be is an object. So you'd put whatever your object is, then on the other side you would pull out this key. You would cast your object back to the particular type. All right, so let's go ahead and try. We're going to do a send here. So there's going to be a WC session. So we're accessing that singleton default session. And we're going to do update application context. And right now we're going to pass in the context. And we're going to handle the case that we may fail. So I'm going to do a print. Let's see, we want error occurred. All right. So that is our pattern. When we click our send, that should go out. So we need to handle if we're not paired. So I'm going to go ahead and just make this simple. Print not paired to watch. All right. So kind of review, we want to check if the watch is actually there. So if the watch is there, go ahead and prepare our data. And again, this is all user engaged at this point. Otherwise, we would go ahead and it would be inside of this timer, or it would be listening, and then it would run this code whenever it's time to send to the watch. So this is actually going to queue up. And then nothing's going to appear on the watch side until the user opens up the app, and then that data will come through. So that is the first part. What we need to do next is prepare on the watch side so that it is actually listening and able to receive this data. So that's what we're going to do next.